Adonai Eloheinu, ve'ishtachavu le'ar kodsho. Romemu, Adonai Eloheinu, ve'ishtachavu le'ar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu.
We may be seated. As you can see, David is standing at Torah. He's our first laner this morning. The parasha is Miketz. And after the first three aliyot, we'll hear from Charlie about his Torah portion, this Torah portion, Miketz. We are in Genesis chapter 41. There are chumashes scattered throughout the congregation in the baskets under the chair if you'd like to follow along. And we're on page 267, page 267. We're in Genesis chapter 41, and we're going to pick up at 53. And of course, we are in the triennial cycle of the Torah reading. We're in the second of the triennial. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we call to Torah, and we share this Torah in honor of special birthdays that our congregation are celebrating at this time. And so if you are here and it is a special birthday, you're welcome to come up. Please sanitize beforehand. But we share this aliyah in honor of the birthdays of Fela Harbig, Caitlin Kluger, Rodney Lewin-Smith, Ken Marlab, Leslie Newman, Isabel Rich, Ian Samuel, Karen Scott, Eva Siegel, Evelyn Sharp, and Edith Spencer. And again, if anybody is celebrating a birthday and you'd like to come up, you are welcome. So David, if you could, because of no one has come up, we still share this aliyah in those who are joining us through the live stream, who I know who are celebrating birthdays. I know Fella's joining us, and I know Ian's joining us for certain. This honor is in their honor, and so we begin with Torah reading. David, thank you.
ותקלנה שבע שני השובע אשר היה בארץ מצרים ותקלנה שבע שני הרעב לבוא כאשר אמר יוסף ויהי רעב בכל הארצות ובכל ארץ מצרים היה לכם ותרעב כל ארץ מצרים ויצעק העם על פרעה ללחם ויאמר פרעה לכל מצרים לכו אל יוסף אשר אמר לכם תעשו והרעב היה על כל פני הארץ ויפתח יוסף את כל אשר בכם וישבור למצרים ויציק הרעב בארץ מצרים ובכל הארץ באו מצרימה לשבור על יוסף כי חזק הרעב בכל הארץ.
Chazak. And as Pierre comes up to share with us the second Torah reading, for those who are celebrating birthdays at this time, we wish you a mazel tov and simchas, and may you live to Me'ah ve'esrim, 120. Or Cantor, what do you like to say? It's a little bit different.
Yes, the old saying was ad me'ah ve'esrim, may you live till 120. Nowadays, we say ad me'ah ke'esrim, may you live till 100 as if you were 20. It seems a better blessing, although I did bury someone who was 100 years old this week, and that doesn't float when you're 99.
Thank you so much. And so for our next aliyah, Pierre will be reading Torah for us. We are on chapter 42 of Genesis, of Bereshit, verse 1. And this aliyah is in honor of those who are celebrating special anniversaries. For some, every year is a special anniversary, not just on the zeros or the fives. And so this aliyah is in honor of David and Sharon Hamilton, Victor and Margaret Kay, George and Yola Klempner, Charles and Jan Levy, Frank and Eve Marlab, Doran and Caroline Paz, Gerald and Lillian Pierce, Leon and Laura Silva, and David and Liz Sonnenberg. In honor of all those anniversaries, they all seem to be over 30 years. Some reaching even, for George and Yola, 62 years, and Frank and Eve, 61 years. Anybody in the congregation reaching those years? Pat, Bruce, how many years you got under your belt? Not that many. So this aliyah is in honor of those who are celebrating these incredible milestone anniversaries. If anybody is in the congregation celebrating an anniversary, you are welcome to come up. And so Pierre, the yad is now being handed to you to share this next aliyah.
We are on page 268 in the Platt Commentaries, 268 right-hand column at the paragraph break. The Platt Commentaries, if you are to be found under the seats if you have one. Otherwise, under the seat next to you, just ask for permission before you take one. It's always polite. 268 right-hand column at the paragraph break. Pia.
Amen. וירא יעקב כי ישבר במצרים, ויאמר יעקב לבניו, למה תתראו? ויאמר הנה שמעתי כי ישבר במצרים, רדו שמה ושרו לנו משם, ונחיה ולא נמות. וירדו אחי יוסף 10 לשבור בר ממצרים, ואת בנימין אחי יוסף לא שלח יעקב את אחו. כי אמר פן יקראנו אסון.
It's key.
Amen. And so again, in honor of
What's the last word?
in honor of those who are celebrating an anniversary, may you continue to have many, many more years of love and happiness and of joy, and may your relationships only go from strength to strength. And we say, Amen.
Amen.
And so as is our custom, our third aliyah is for those who are remembering a loved one who are here for yard site. Our yard moves to to Nate. I apologize, Nate. Don't forget to sanitize on your way up. Nate, thank you. I forgot to ask Pierre to do the same, and David. So this is the example of what to do. And our next aliyah, if you are here to remember a loved one, or if you are here for yard site, we do call you to Torah at this time, but we certainly do think of the families, the Barnes family, the Barger, the Barnes, the Benjamin families, the Berrison, Bernard, Graham and Bridgman families, the Frieden, the Frey Taylors, the Gasters, the Goldman, Greenglass, Jacobs, the Kahns, the Kaplans, the Colliners, the Luskys, the Leaders, the Mashinskys, the Nyrens, Rogers, Silberberg, Spurnat, Vandenberg, Wexler, and Willis family, along with all those who are remembering loved ones, either in this season in years gone by, or if mourning has been very recent. This aliyah is in honor of them. Is anybody like to come up? You are welcome to.
We are on page 268, left-hand column, top column, fourth word in. Nate, would you read for us?
ויבוא בני ישראל לשבור בתוך הבאים, כי היה הרעב בארץ כנען. ויוסף הוא השליט על הארץ, הוא המשביר לכולם הארץ. ויבוא אחי יוסף, וישתחוו לו 2,000 ארצה. וירא יוסף את אחיו, ויקירם, ויתנקה עליהם, וידבר איתם קושות. ויאמר עליהם, מאין באתם? ויאמרו, מארץ כנען לשבוכם.
Amen. And again, we wish all those who are remembering a loved one not just a long life, but also a life of meaning, living with the values that were so important to our loved ones. And friends, we say Amen. We're going to take a break in the Torah reading right now. Joe, I can see you ready to come on up, but why don't you come up and have a seat on the side. We're going to roll the Torah closed, and Charlie, if you can come up, because now you're going to share with everybody your drush, what this Torah portion means to you.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My Torah portion is Miketz, and it is found in the book of Genesis chapter 41 to 43. My portion is about how Joseph interprets Pharaoh's dreams, predicting 7 years of plenty and 7 years of famine. Joseph is brought to Pharaoh straight from prison, and is able not only to interpret Pharaoh's dreams as of warning what is to come, but he is also able to offer a long-term plan to make sure Egypt survives. Pharaoh sees in Joseph more than just an interpreter of dreams, recognizing qualities in Joseph that leads to him becoming his second in command. My portion tells how Joseph is able to project manage the collection and storage of food and then distribute it in a fair and equal manner. It's leadership I would like to talk about today. A good leader makes decisions that benefit the community. They put others first over themselves, and they set a good example for others to follow. Qualities that make a good leader are taking responsibility, vision, taking initiative, honesty, focus, self-discipline, being moral and ethical, and having humility and empathy, and being able to forgive unconditionally. Joseph showed how responsible he was by putting a plan together that worked for everyone. Being moral and ethical made him incorruptible, and he constantly proved himself by refusing to show favoritism to the rich and handing out food in Egypt. His clear vision and determined focus gave him the discipline he needed to show people he was in control. Why? Controlling every aspect of the logistics in carrying out his prophecy ensured he did not show favoritism, that he couldn't be influenced, and that he treated people fairly. So enough food was collected during the first 7 years of plenty to feed everyone in Egypt through the following 7 years of famine. Many leaders have shared the same qualities that Joseph displayed, but none more so than Nelson Mandela. Mandela was an incredible leader. From an early age, he had a clear vision of how he saw the future, just like Joseph did. People around him recognizing his qualities of greatness and leadership, just like Joseph's father did, and if they were honest, his brothers did too. They just didn't like how he rubbed it in their face. They rubbed their faces in it, and made them incredibly jealous. Joseph and Mandela were both imprisoned unfairly, and were both able to inspire other prisoners with their clear visions of the future and their humility. They ultimately both rose to great heights, and they were both able to show incredible, unconditional forgiveness to those who had committed terrible and cruel acts against them. Mandela achieved many things. His greatest achievement was the peaceful transition from power from entitled white minority rule to giving a self-determination to the black majority. He knew what it was like to be powerless in a white-dominated South Africa, being a black man in a white man's jail for 27 years, and yet he was still able to persuade his countrymen to forgive. Like Joseph, his forgiveness, a positive mindset, determination, humility, and passion made him a massive influence on the entire world. Of course, there are always examples of the other side of the coin. Leaders that do not possess Joseph's qualities, leaders that do not take responsibility, leaders that do not respect other people's opinions, who do not take responsibility when things go wrong, who fire those who disagree with them, and who tell people what they want to hear, whether it be true or not. They look to benefit themselves, their friends and family, portray arrogance instead of humility, believe themselves invincible and above the law. Remind you of anyone? But the world needs people to lead, people to make the hard decisions, and to force them. A world without leaders would be lawless and unimaginable. Our society would be filled with crime and corruption. It would be terrible, and a horrible world to live in. There would be no one to stop you mugging. There be no one to stop someone mugging you and no punishment for either. So what kind of leader can I be? And what can I do now, even though I'm only 13? Well, I have no Nelson Mandela and hopefully no Trump. I can start the process of becoming a leader in my own community. Through my words and actions, I can set an example by becoming a role model to others. I can act responsibly and go out of my way to do the right thing. Respect and learn from my elders, work hard, and always give my best effort. And always try to be humble, thankful, kind, and caring, understanding that no one is perfect and I can be better by listening to others. All of this can help me grow into a leader in the future. And let me end by saying that our leaders have always been very important. Whether they're leading a small cause or making bold decisions, they all play a part in shaping our society. And I look forward to playing my part in shaping our society in the future. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Yeshua Koach. Beautiful. And such an important message about leadership, Charlie. And so, friends, we're now going to share with you and continue with the Aliyot. And so Joe is going to take his place at the Torah. And so, Nate, you may need to show Joe where he's reading. I'm not sure where we open up the Torah. And so for this next Aliyah, we call to reading of Torah aunts and uncles, and of course Uncle Jeremy and his family were not able to make it down. They are in Sydney still. I don't need to explain why. Kantalelum.
So we are on page 268 in the Plant Commentary, left-hand column, fifth line down, first word on that page. יעמדו חנה בת אברהם ורות, ומעיין בת אברהם ורות, ואלישבע בת אברהם ורות, וירמיה בן אברהם ורות, רבים לעלייה לתורה. So we invite Anna and Mandy and Lucy and Jeremy to come to Torah, those who can make it, that is from local as opposed to from Sydney. If you'll come up on this side, yep, come up on this side. And you should be able to see the sheet with the Torah Blessings on it. Joe, if you can point to where you're beginning, and everyone begin with the Torah Blessings if you could.
No.
Okay, we're going to say blessings.
Well,
Baruch Adonai mevarach leolam vaed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
ויוקר יוסף את אחיו, והם לא הכירוהו. ויזכור יוסף את החלומות אשר חלם להם, ויאמר אליהם, מרגלים אתם לראות את ערוות הארץ באתם. ויאמרו אליו, לא אדוני, ועבדיך באו לשפוך אוכל.
Oh man, beautiful. And afterwards.
Baruch atah Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet ve'hayeh olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Mishaberach Avotenu Abraham Yitzchak Yaakov Imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel V'Leah. May the God of our ancestors bless you, Mandy, Anna, and Lucy, as you're called to Torah in honor of Torah, in honor of God, in honor of Shabbat, and in honor of that young man sitting in the front row who's going to become a bar mitzvah very shortly. Now, of course, the one person missing is, as I mentioned at the beginning, is Jeremy. And of course, all your families have something so special that you share with Charlie. I was almost looking at you, Joe, but that was a while ago. And Mandy, what you shared with me is how enthusiastic Charlie is to you, and strong-willed. And friends, that's going to be a common thread you'll find out. The strength of Charlie's personality. He's chatty. He's a devoted and loving cousin as well as an entertainer. Anna, you shared that one of the things that happens when Charlie gets in the car, you have to ask him to turn down the speed of his his speech, because he is chatty and he's so full of opinions and ideas, and again also that energy that is inside of him, which is so important. And Lucy, you shared as well the energy, the passion, and is always the first to have his hand up and of course his voice heard. And so as you celebrate with your families, and Lily's coming up as well, sort of, to share with all your families, with all the cousins, and the joy that Charlie brings into your lives. And may you only go from strength to strength as you enjoy watching Charlie continue into adulthood. And we say Amen and Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov.
And so for our next Aliyah canto,
For our fifth Aliyah, we invite Pat and Bruce to come to Torah. We are on page 268-69. We are at verse 11, which is the second line from the bottom in the left-hand column, third word in. Yamdu Rut bat Avraham v'Zarabai v'Avraham ben Tzvi 50 l'Aliyah LaTorah. And Charlie will begin laning. Once again, page 268, left-hand column, second line from the bottom, third word in. So if you could just find the spot for him, point to it. And Bruce and Pat, if you could say the blessing before the Torah for us, please. Baruch Adonai mevarach leolam vaed.
Baruch Adonai mevarach leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torah emet. Ve'akei olam nata b'dukenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten.
Amen.
Amen.
Uhud lahadu pnei ish echad nachanu kenihim anaknu lo hayu avdecha meraglim. I Vayom Elohim lo kieva ha'aretz batin libod. Vayamu nehem asava avadecha achim anaknu bnei ish echad be'eretz Knan v'hinei hakaton et avinu hayom decha echad eneinu. Yomer Aleichem Yosef hu shejabati Aleichem ve'mu meraglim atem.
And the blessing after the Torah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torah emet. Ve'akei olam nata b'dukenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten Torah.
Amen. Amen. Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov ve'imotenu Sarif Karachel v'Leah. May the God of our ancestors bless you, Pat and Bruce, as you are called to Torah, in honor of Torah, in honor of God, in honor of Shabbat, in honor of your grandson Charlie becoming a bar mitzvah in a few moments. When we spoke the other night, I asked you, what is Charlie to you? What does he mean to you? And both of your faces lit up with such a big smile, with so much pride. You shared as well with me how he just seems to soak up knowledge, how interactive he is, how he seems to know everything that there is to know in the world, and how thoughtful he is in giving his opinions at different times. But the things that you enjoy is spending time with him down in Port C, whether there in your home there or even up here in Melbourne, and that he loves tennis and those are the things that you really love, but it's his personality and his knowledge and his willingness to learn from everybody. And so may you only go from strength to strength as you continue to see Charlie thrive into adulthood. And we say Amen and Mazel Tov.
Mazel Tov.
And so for our next Aliyah, the Yad stays with Charlie. And of course, we call to Torah his parents and brother, and Nina will come up as well.
And so we call to Torah, Yamdu Yochanan bat Avraham ben Ruth, v'David ben Benyamin, v'Natan ben David v'Yochanan, Shishim la'aliyah LaTorah. We are on page 269, right-hand column, fifth line down, first word. And once again, 269, right-hand column, fifth line down, first word. And the blessing before the Torah, if you would.
Baruch Adonai Habarah.
Baruch Adonai Mevarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai
Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
Amen. בזאת צבחנו, היפרו אם תסו מזה, כי אם בבוא אחיהם הקטון הנם. שואו מכם אחד, ויקרא את אחיכם, ואתם היסעו וברכנו דבריכם, האמת אתכם, אם לא, היפרו, כי מרגלים אתם, בסוף אותם, המפלסת ימם, יאמר עליהם יוסף, ויאמר עליהם יוסף, ביום השישי, זאת עשו וחיו, את אלוהים אני ירא.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
Amen. Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak Yaakov Emotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel Leah. May the God of our ancestors bless you, Jane and David and Nate and Nina, as you're called to Torah, and as you, Nina, stand at Torah, because in a few years that's going to be you reading from Torah. And Nina, I'm going to start with you, because one of the things that you said to me about what you love about Charlie, your sister's about to give you a compliment. So one of the things she loves about you is how caring you are. You make silly jokes, but how loving, and how she loves how competitive at tennis you are. And clearly, we can also see how driven you are, Charlie. And for Nate, what you shared with me about Charlie, and it's really the way to get to know you, Nate, is clearly through your tummy, because you just love the things that Charlie bakes, that he's quite a baker, making pastries, marshmallows, and a whole bunch of other things. And that is something that you really appreciate about Charlie. For David and Jane, what you both shared with me, and what I've come to see, is that what you feel and what you think about Charlie is something that is truly beautiful. You both consider him so passionate in the things that he believes in the things that he does, recognizing his sensitivity, his kindness. And those things that are part of Charlie, you really do love and you appreciate. And when you both shared with me, your eyes also just lit up with so much joy, with the biggest of smiles. May you as a family only go from strength to strength as you enjoy watching Charlie become a bar mitzvah and enter into adulthood. And we say, Amen. And Mazel Tov. And just before we call Charlie to Torah, I think that there are lollies going around. But just at the same time, for those of you who are joining us through a live streaming, we'd lost connectivity for about 30 seconds or so, but I believe that we are back online, are we not, Rabbi Lazaro? It is all good. And so we call to Torah, Charlie, Cantil Alum.
Yamod, 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 Adir Benjamin ben David Yochana, Nara bar mitzvah lali ala Torah.
And so we call to Torah Charlie. Charlie did the right thing. He stepped away from Torah, because you can't be at Torah and be called to Torah. So he took a step down off the bima, and now he's going to share with us the blessing after
Charlie,
kissing the Torah.
Find your spot. You will find us on 269, right-hand column, third line from the bottom, last word. Have you got your spot?
Yeah.
Okay, say the blessing before the Torah.
Baruch Adonai Havarah.
Baruch Adonai Mevarach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai Havarah Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, ונתן לנו את אותו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
אם כן אם אתם אחיכם אחד, יעשה בבית מלכם, ואתם לכו הביאו שבר עוון ביתכם, ואת אחיכם הקטון תביאו אליו, ויאמנו דבריכם ולא תמותו, ויעשו כן, ויאמרו איש על אחיו, אבל שמים אנחנו על אחינו אשר ראינו שבת נפשו, ותתננו אלינו ולא רמנו, על כן באה אלינו הצבת הזאת, ויענו בן אותם לאמור, הלא אמרתי אליכם לאמור, ותחתו בילד ולא שמעתם, וגם דמו הנה נדרש, והם לא ידעו, כי שומך יוסף, כי המליץ בנותם, וסוף מעליהם, ויבא, וישוב עליהם, ודבר אליהם, ויקם איתם את שמעון, ואסרו אותו לעיניהם.
Hazak. And the blessing after the Torah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayeh olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah. May the God of our ancestors bless you, Charlie, as you call to Torah in honor of Torah, in honor of God, in honor of Shabbat, and in honor of you becoming a bar mitzvah in this moment. I know that this has been something that you've looked forward to. You've worked so hard to get to this moment. You're thinking, yeah, I worked hard. You got that cheeky grin on your face at the moment. But I know how hard you worked. And I saw that through working on the drush with you. I learned so much about you, Charlie, and working on the drush. I learned about your feelings and your understanding of leadership, that you innately know what it means to be a good leader. You had a couple of lines that have really stuck with me. You said that you hope you to be like Nelson Mandela and that you hope you know Trump. And I've got news for you, Charlie. You have the qualities and the characteristics inside of you of Nelson Mandela. You are passionate about what you believe in. You are steadfast in your ideas. You don't give up, Charlie, when you know something and that you feel that you are right. And you've also got that compassionate aspect of you to really care about others. Charlie, these are the qualities that are going to take you far. I don't see any similarities between you and Donald Trump, thankfully, and I think that you know that too. When you think about who you want to be, think about the people in your family. Look at the great leaders that surround you, the family that loves and supports you, your friends that are here. And one of the things that you are, and what your dad mentioned, is what a great mate you are to your friends. Is he a good friend? You could say a little bit more enthusiasm. Is he a great friend? Yes. Thank you. So Charlie, these guys, along with your family, are going to continue to be there for you through thick and through thin. And may your parents place their hands on your head as we share in this Birkat HaKohanim, this priestly blessing. May God bless you and may God watch over you.
Yair Adonai panav elecha vichuneka.
May the light of God's presence shine through you and be gracious to you.
Is Adonai, is Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha
And may God's face be lifted to you, giving you the most precious of all blessing, the blessing of shalom, of peace. And we say amen and mazel tov.
Siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, yelanu. Siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, siman tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, siman tov, yelanu. Yelanu, yelanu, ולכל ישראל. Yelanu, yelanu, ולכל ישראל. דוד מלך ישראל, חי וקיים. דוד מלך ישראל, חי וקיים.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. And so maybe if there are a couple of baskets, maybe a couple of the little ones, like, well, not so little, Nina and maybe Lily can come and help pick up all the lollies. But we're going to now share with you, take a break from the joy of Torah before we do Hug by David. I know you're all ready. To share with us the blessing for healing, healing of body, mind, and healing of soul.
מי שברך אבותינו מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
We think of Jack Easter, Helen Strangos, Afida Ben Samaya, Yonina Bat Elkanan, Chaim Barivka, Glynis Perry, Percy Perskina, Vicky Caffin, Shimon Label, Ben Chana Rochel, Richard Rosen in Sydney, Lauren Kaiserman, Arthur Flood, David Arthur, Eva Gunsberger, Maimuna Abrams, Rhonda Nirons, Melissa Apple, David Friedman, Benjamin Morgan, Tony Moore, Ronan Van Dam, Adira Bat Rachel, Rachel Bat Avram Basara, Fred Seligman, Ishiyahu Gershon, Gabriel Ben Ilana Esther, Francis Zucker, Peter Haylock, Rachel Bat Panina Moshe, Patsy Waller, Caroline Hurd, and Robert Stanley. If you'd like to share the name of a loved one for healing of mind or body or soul, please share their name at this time.
מי שברך אמותינו מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Friends, we rise now for Hug by Anglila as we lift and dress the Torah.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לבני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לבני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. Yair lai rai lai rai, yair lai rai lai, yair lai 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 rai lai, yair lai lai, yair lai lai, yair lai la rai lai, yair lai la rai lai lai lai. Please be seated.
And so Charlie is now going to share with us the Haftarah. It's on page 355, page 355 from the book of Kings, chapter 3, verse 15. And so the blessing for the Haftarah, that's your Siddur to your left, Charlie. And then the Haftarah is underneath there. Here's the Haftarah, but you need the blessings. Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bacha b'mi'im tovim v'tzad devechem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai, chaboher b'torah u'moshe ado v'Yisrael amo v'nvi'ei hamet v'tzedek. Then Solomon woke. It was a dream. He went to Jerusalem and stood before the Ark of the Covenant of the Sovereign. There he offered burnt offerings and offerings of well-being. After that, he gave a banquet for all his officials. Sometime later, 2 prostitutes presented themselves before the king. One says, "Please, my lord, this woman and I live in the same house. She was there with me when I gave birth to a child. 3 days later, this woman also had a child. We were alone, no one else was with us, just the 2 of us were in the house. During the night, she lay on it, and her son died. She got up in the middle of the night while your maidservant was asleep and took my child and put it in her bosom, for the dead one in mine. When I got up in the morning to nurse my son, I saw that he was dead. When I looked more closely by morning light, I saw the dead baby was not the one born to me." The other one broke in, "No, the living one is my son, yours is the dead one." But the first insisted, "No, the dead boy is yours, mine is the live one." Thus they continued to argue before the king. The king said, "One says, you live, the live one is my son, and the dead one is yours. And the other says, no, your son is dead, and mine is alive." So the king said, "Fetch me a sword." They brought a sword into the king's presence. Then the king said, "Cut the living child in 2, and give half to one and half to the other." But the real mother was churning with compassion for her son, so she pleaded with the king, "Please, my lord, give her the living bairn. Whatever you do, don't kill her." The other said, "No, it will be neither yours nor mine. Cut it in 2. The king spoke up, "On no account kill the child. Give him to the first woman. She is the real mother." When Israel heard of the decision of the king, they held him in awe, seeing that within him he had divine wisdom to do justice, and King Solomon was now king over all Israel. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Sukol halamim tzadik b'chol hadorot ha'el ha'ne'eman ha'omer v'aseh hamdeber u'nkeyam shekol dbarav emet v'tzedek al ha'torah v'al ha'avodah v'al v'mi'im v'al ha'shabbat yom ha'shabbat hazeh shenazar lanu Adonai Eloheinu l'tishav l'menorah l'kavod u'l'tifaret al ha'kol Adonai Eloheinu אנחנו מודים לך ומברכים אותך יתברך שמך בפי כל חי תמיד לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Amen. Yeshua. So friends, if I could ask you to please rise once more. David will come join Charlie on the beamer, and we also invite Michael, John, and Nate to share with us the prayer for congregation, country, and Israel. We're on page 372. So Michael, if you could go first, please.
Source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion in prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruit of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy.
Amen. And the prayer for country, John.
Let us bless our community, our country of Australia and all its people. Let us have dreams in this historic land of dreamers. Let the hot winds from the desert fire our imagination. Let the red soil of the plains keep us rooted to the things that matter. Let the waters of our rivers, lakes, and oceans flow into our hearts, giving us depth and understanding. Keep our eyes open to the beauty of this land. May we strive to keep its beauty present and strong. Help us remember those who have lived in this land before us and those who have made it their home in more recent times. May we never be lazy in the work for peace. May we honor those who have died in defense of our ideals. Grant our leaders wisdom and forbearance. May they lead with justice and compassion. Let our compassion be like the encompassing coastlines of our continent. May acceptance, kindness, and peace live steadily within this ancient and enduring land. Amen.
Amen. And the prayer for Israel, page 377. Thank you, Nate.
Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen.
Amen. And we remain standing as we return the Torah to the Ark, and the Ark will be opened by Adam Spaulding. We are on page 374.
יעלנו את שם אדוני, כי נשגב שמו לבדו. הודו על ארץ בשמיים, וירן קרן לעמו, תהילה לכל חסידיו, לבני ישראל עם קרובו. הללויה, הללויה, כי לקח טוב נתתי לכם, תורתי אל תעזובו. את חיים למה חזיקים בה, ותומכיה מאושר, דרכיה דרכי נועם, וכל נתיבותיה שלום. השיבנו אדוני אליך ונשובה. חדש ימינו כקדם, חדש ימינו כקדם.
Friends, we may be seated. Charlie, you can go have a sit with Mum and Dad, if you'd like. So, something I want to share with you that has come up in this week's Torah portion, Miketz. Something a little bit different to what Charlie spoke to us. I don't know where that came from. That Charlie spoke to us. And he obviously spoke about, in detail, he spoke about leadership. He spoke about the different characteristics that are necessary in order to be a competent and a good leader, also giving us some examples. But one of the things that happened with Joseph, and of course this was based on Joseph and Joseph being in Egypt, one of the things that happened with Joseph, with Yosef, when he was there, is his brothers came to see him. They didn't know it was his brother, but they came and they ended up spending time with Joseph. And Joseph was in this strange place. He was there as the brother that they hadn't seen in many, many years, but he was also there, in a sense, as an Egyptian, because he had taken on all the characteristics, all the cultural aspects of what it meant to be an Egyptian in Pharaoh's court. And one of the customs that we know with Egypt, and it's recorded in the Torah, is when they put food down, that Joseph wasn't permitted, because of Egyptian law, to sit and actually eat with his brothers. We all have this imagery that they were sitting there, they were enjoying a meal together, but in fact that wasn't the case. And Joseph found himself in this interesting place. His family was all at the table. He was sitting separately to his brothers, but he was also separate because of his position to sitting with the other Egyptians who were part of his court. So you have this one individual, Joseph. He couldn't quite be with his family. Egyptian law wouldn't allow him to be with his family. He was sitting separate. Also because his brothers potentially didn't know who he was at that time. But he couldn't sit with the Egyptians either because of his role and responsibility, because of the things that he was deemed to do. And one of the things that really struck me about this is how alone Joseph must have felt in that moment. He couldn't be with his family, and he couldn't be with the people that he was spending most of his time with. He was caught in the middle. Michelle, you know Yiddish way better than I. What's that saying when you're neither here nor there in Yiddish? Nicht dahin, nicht dahin, nicht daher. Something like that. Thank you. So I'll just say it in English. He was neither here, neither there. Anybody speak Yiddish here? Very few. So being in this place of caught between different worlds, I started to think about our own lives here in Australia. Where are we caught? What are the different worlds that we see ourselves in? Some of us are caught between family life, how we spend our time with our family, versus how do we spend our time at work. Some of us are part of, I'm part of this is not true, but I'm part of the West Coast Eagles football team. That's my team, by the way. Versus those who are not part of a footy culture at all. And of course, the examples are all over the place. Charlie, you're part of a tennis culture, are you not? You're part of the tennis world. You love tennis, you're competitive, sort of. I know. And also, you've got your school community, and you've got your family and extended family. And you're caught as well, even between different worlds. The good part about that is that none of these worlds are necessarily in conflict with one another. So many times, these different worlds that we spend our time in can be in conflict. But most of the time, we're able to live and exist in this world and in this society pretty easily. We can float between one group and we can float between another, as I said, with relative ease. And Charlie, I think that's you. But I think that's also part of who you are as a person. You're able to shift between hanging out with your mates, hanging out with your cousins and with your family, and then getting on the tennis court and playing tennis. But one of the things that is so important in all of these different areas where we find ourselves, whether it's over here or over there, is to constantly maintain who we are, to constantly remind ourselves of the values that we stand for, to ensure that they continue through all the different worlds in which we exist. So if we are a loyal friend, if we are passionate about our family, if we are competitive, to make sure that those different parts of who we are stand true. As we think of what has been happening throughout the world, throughout these times, where we have found ourselves at times completely standing alone, when we've been potentially isolated at home or isolated alone or with our families in a bubble, and now as we begin to emerge, as we can see today, who are we? Have we changed? Have we grown? Have we developed in a way that continues to allow us to be part of society in the different groups, the different subgroups that we are part of? And does it allow us, above all else, to maintain the parts of our personality and the parts of who we are that we are most proud of. Charlie, so many people are proud of you today, that you've been able to lead this service so beautifully. And it's those parts of your personality that have really shone through today that we know will continue to stand you in good stead. May you only go from strength to strength, and may each and every one of us continue to live healthy, productive worlds and lives with who we are. Shabbat Shalom. Friends, let's rise for Aleinu. We are on page 586, and Shai, if I could ask you to please join me on the bima as we open the Ark.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ובודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, הקדוש ברוך ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Remain standing as we turn to page 598 for Shiatom, the mourner's Kaddish. And so for the week of Shiva, we remember Jacob and for the Shloshim, we remember Alan Gostin, Rita Greiner, Hilda Lysa, Wayne Lindbergh, Phyllis Gwenian Lloyd, and Robert Schlemach. And the yahrzeits, the anniversaries of whose death fall on this Shabbat, we remember Sylvia Angel, Maya Barger, Irene Benjamin, Itiel Barrison, Anne Bernhardt, Eugenia Birnbaum, Thomas Bram, Ben Bridgman, Lloyd Ted Einstein, Violet Farrago, Edith Gaster, Miriam Gluck, Minnie Goldman, Lida Gringlas, Madeline Koski, Roy Krantz, Leo Lazarus, Zach Newton, Morris Rishin, Edward Robbins, Poppy Rogers, Vera Silberberg, Ibolia Spernat, Aaron Vanderhoek, Ruth Wexler, and Rose Windholz. If you'd like to remember the name of a loved one for healing, I invite you to do so, and for memory, I invite you to do so at this time. Zecher Tzadik Livracha, may the memory of the righteous be for a blessing as we join together, as is our custom. Yitgadal v'yitkadosh shemei Rabbah, ve'amad divrach yirutei ve'amlich malchutei, chayachon avyom echon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agalav izman kariv v'maru.
Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam v'amaya.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitada v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kodesha.
B'richu.
Le'elam min kol bechata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiran bi'alma v'yimaru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Amen. Hamakom Yenachem Echem B'Tok Shav Le'Tzion V'Yerushalayim. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn, comforting and healing their hearts from their loss, and may they be remembered in Zion and Jerusalem and around the world. And we say, Amen. Friends, as we are seated, our Vice President, Judy Cohen, is coming up to make some announcements and presentations.
Thank you, Rabbi Kim. So on behalf of the Board of Governance, I welcome everyone here today, whether you're here in person or you're watching through our live streaming. It's been a lovely morning to have you all together as we celebrate Charlie's bar mitzvah. Charlie, come on up and join me. You're getting drunk with all that sanitizer. Mazel tov, how are you feeling?
Okay.
Okay, good. Well, I'm feeling great. I love it when the Davis family are in the house, and boy, are they in the house today for you. A huge clan here. And I love the smiles across the faces, right through the whole shul, and I had prime spot there being able to watch everyone. Your family has a long history at TBI. Your mum's family were founding members of TBI, and the tradition has been handed down from generation to generation. As we saw today, your dad handing you the Torah. You can't get more special than that in terms of longevity through a family. We've had your dad on our religious life committee here for a few years now, and that's been lots of fun. We see the importance of culture and tradition, Jewish values right throughout your family. Your mum is now a member of our board, which is wonderful to have you join us, Jane. And of course, Nate and Nina, I've been watching them too. They've really enjoyed today. And it's been lovely to see the family all sitting together and praying together beautifully for your bar mitzvah. Although we can't see them here, we also know that your dad's mum over in Manchester has been joining us through our streaming, as well as lots of aunts, uncles, cousins, and very special friends throughout the UK and also New Zealand and Sydney. Some people who couldn't come down in the last minute. So people have joined from wide and far, and it's been beautiful to have everyone with us. Your parents told me, and Kim's already mentioned some of these, but just give me a moment to say them as well. As I introduced you to our community, some of the traits that your parents see in you, and I can see where you get them from. They said you're passionate, kind, smart, caring, and intuitive, and that you can hold your own in a debate as well. You're a student at Melbourne Grammar, and welcome to all your friends who've come from Melbourne Grammar. And I've seen you play guitar, so I know that you can do that, and you did that for us at services, family services a few times, which was really enjoyable. You are a tennis player, you do the rescue stuff. What do you call it? Nippers, thank you. Thank you for your help. So you're very helpful too. And I heard that you're going to be building your own computer now, and that is because you're so interested in IT, and as part of your bar mitzvah celebrations and things, you're going to start on that journey, which is terrific. You love to spend Friday nights with your extended family, your holidays in Portsea, you watch movies with your siblings, and I heard also about the consumption of sweets. Lots of sweet things. Okay. Your focus on leadership in your Dvar Torah makes me feel great about our future. You're already working on what kind of leader that you want to be, your plan for our future. And I think that's amazing. It's determination and it's vision. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing how you shape your journey as you go into adulthood with us here as your partners. I've got some gifts for you from TBI, from UPJ, from PJV, just lots of initials. You'll get to know what those organisations are over the years. And from NetSer, of course. They're behind me. I can't hand them to you, but I do hope that you'll take them home with you. There are some books, one about our beautiful stained glass windows. There are some siddurim for the High Holy Days and some certificates for you, and a plant so that you can help our environment as well. So Mazel Tov, Charlie. I'd shake your hand, but I can't. Why don't you have a seat? Just a few other announcements as well. This afternoon we have another bar mitzvah. Joseph Rink is becoming bar mitzvah, and we wish Joseph and all his family Mazel Tov. And that can be, you can come here if you'd like to, again for a service this afternoon for Mincha, or you can watch online. Shabbat concludes this evening for Havdalah at 9:30. Our office is closed while everyone takes a well-deserved break from now until the 10th of January. For urgent pastoral care, please find the phone number on our website. Shabbat services, including Shabbat Hashavua, continue as usual. Details can be found on the rabbi's desk, emails, or the website. Pop-up Shabbat is popping back up again. The services will be in Red Hill, but at a different location. Again, check our website for that. So for the first 4 weeks of January, we'll be holding 2 Shabbat services on a Friday night, and one here in the shul and one over in Red Hill. Please join us there. It's always lovely. I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank all the volunteers who helped us share the light this Hanukkah, from donut making activities to the website and the podcasts. Do make sure, if you haven't looked at any of the podcasts and you've got some time over the summer, do have a look at them. You'll get to know some of our diverse members of our community a little bit better, and they're just fascinating, really fascinating. And if you hadn't had a chance to get to know our new president, Craig Levine, Rabbi Kim interviewed him on a podcast as well, and I do recommend that you have a look at that. Thank you to all the family members who laned today. Thank you to those who contributed to our service in any way. Thank you to Denise and Yadviga for being our Shamashim. And please do, on your way out, thank our CSG and SPT volunteers who are making sure we're secure in here while they're out there. And just again about your prayer books, after the service finishes, if you can just leave your prayer books on your chairs, and we'll look after cleaning them, etc. before this afternoon's service. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. So David and Jane and Nate and Charlie and Nina, why don't you come on up? We've got some challah here for you. We've got grape juice. And friends, after we've made Kiddush and Motzi after the service, we do have grape juice and wine. The red one is, the dark red is the wine, and the lighter one, as Rabbi Lazaro has been demonstrating, is grape juice. And there are many challahs, like challah rolls, for everybody to be able to have their own. And so, Cancer, if you can lead us in Kiddush.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי 6 ימים מסר אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת וינפש על כן ברך את יום השבת ויקדשהו סברי מרנן ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם בורא פרי הגפן לחיים.
L'chaim. David, Jane, there's some grape juice coming behind you.
And uncover the challah.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם המוציא לחם מן הארץ Amen. Shabbat Shalom and B'teavon. הנה מתוק ומנעים שברחים גם יחד. 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 How good it is, how good it is, how sweet it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how good it is, how sweet it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שברחים גם יחד.